Yeah. What are all the like interactions we are
Is the
going to
interaction
do?
with the database.
Sorry, come again.
SQL used to interact with the database.
Yeah, yeah,
It
I
helps
got it.
to,
Okay.
and also the databases are storing, modifying, and
Yeah,
removing and retrieve the data from the databases.
yeah, correct. SQL, it is abbreviated as Structured Query Language,
Structured query language.
and its main purpose of why we are using SQL is to interact with the database, and what are all the
Yeah.
interactions, what are all the possible interactions we can do with the database are storing or creating. We can store the data or we can create the data, new data into the database, and we can modify or update the data, and we can remove or delete the data from the database, and also we can access or retrieve the data whenever we want from the database, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Arun, why are we learning SQL? Hello.
Shreya. Since SQL is a query language, we can learn it easily, and we are learning it for client server access, so that we can access the application request and response from the database easily. Uh, and um, one more point is uh, symbol troubleshooting.
Mm.
Since it's a query language in which we can easily troubleshoot and the issues and errors. And to start the data into the database and to retrieve the data from the database.
Yeah, to store the data into the database and to retrieve it purpose. It is easy by using the SQL. Okay, great. People, be interactive. Don't be silent. If you have any doubts, just speak up. Okay. If I ask questions, please answer.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys are silent, I think that you all are on the call, but you all are sleeping.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now voices are coming out. Great. Okay. My screen is visible, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Today, I'm going to I'm going with the topics like importance of SQL and what is the history of SQL and also some of the database concepts. Okay. Importance of SQL in like what are all the importance of SQL? Why we are, you know, there are many more I can say many more online compilers and all those things we can use even in the while programming languages also we can use the online compiler, and also there will be many more tools, different tools, but we prefer only a particular tools, right? Okay, this is best to work on, this is best to code. In that way only SQL, it's nothing but MySQL. Okay, no difference here. What are all the importance of SQL means? First, by using this SQL, we can create a database in the server. Okay. And we can create data in the server. Like we can create the database and we can create the data into the database in the server. Okay. And the same things, like we can insert the new data into the database and we can delete the unwanted data which is not needed necessary from the database, and also we can fetch or we can retrieve or access the data whenever it is necessary for us from the database. Okay, these are all the importance of SQL. What are all the things we are going to do in that? These are all the main things which makes SQL is important to learn in this way. Okay. Then it comes to history of SQL. SQL is developed by Raymond Boyk. He developed SQL in 1970, and since he developed the SQL, we'll call Raymond Boyk as the father of SQL. And we have another person known as E.F. Cod. His full name is Edgar Rankot. He is the co-founder of SQL. Okay. Raymond Boyk is the founder of SQL and E.F. Cod is the co-founder of SQL. First, SQL was developed by IBM company. Then what happened? After they developed, now the current company who own the SQL is Oracle. You guys heard about these companies, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Then in the SQL was not structured query language before. In the earlier days, it was called as SQL. What is the SQL means? Simple English query executable language. Simple English query executable language. Okay, after that, you might have heard about ASCII format, all those things.
Yes.
ASCII format code. There is a format, right? There are numbers. They have their own format of writing or storing the data. Okay. Here we have same like ANSCII. Okay. This what is this means? This is a American National Standard Code Information Interchange format. This is okay. This is not yours. This is American National. Okay, what happens means in the earlier days SQL is known as SQL. After this ANSI people, they'll purchase the SQL. On that time, they will name the SQL as SQL in the year of 1979. Got it? What are all the importance of SQL means? By using this SQL, we can create the database, and we can also create the data into that database, and we can insert new data, or we can create the new data into the database, and also we can modify the data which is already stored in the database, and we can delete or remove the unwanted data which is not necessary for us anytime from the database, and also we can access or retrieve the data from the database. These are all the importance of SQL. And while coming to history of SQL, SQL was found by Raymond Boyd in the year of 1970. So he will be called as father of SQL. And we have EF Cod, who is been called as EF like co-founder of SQL. And SQL was first developed by which company?
IBM.
And
Yeah, right.
IBM.
IBM company developed SQL, but the current owner of SQL is
Oracle.
Oracle.
Oracle. Now, and in the earlier days, SQL was known as SQL. Okay. Then the ANSI people, they purchased the SQL, and they converted SQL, means they not converted, they renamed that SQL as SQL. Okay, in the year of 1979. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
the smallest brief of about history of SQL. Then we go for database concepts. What is this database concept? From the first day I started the class of SQL, I will be telling you guys about database, database. Only those two words are compulsory. In every sentence, I'll be using those two words, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here in this database concepts, we are going to learn about data, database, and also the softwares which helps to the user to interact with the database. We are going to learn about those softwares also. First is data. What is data? Anybody can define?
It's the information about the thing.
Okay. Any other answers?
Collection of information.
Okay. Others? Okay. Data means, as you people said, it is a collection of information or the information stored about a thing. Yeah, same. Data means it is a collection of information, or we can call it as a piece of information of the particular entity. Particular entity means entity is nothing but a common domain. Okay, like for example, in the colleges, for example, we can take engineering colleges. We'll have a lot of different branches, like it can be computer science, electronics and communication engineering, triple E, mechanical, civil, all other branches are there, right? If we want a information of a particular branch, we'll have separate separate book will be maintained for that particular branch only, right? So what I'm telling is, in the if I want a student information, what are all the things will be included in a student information?
roll number, name,
Okay.
father
Source.
name,
Yeah.
parents
ID.
Yeah.
address.
Correct.
Previous
Right. If I am storing a one student information means, for example, I want his name, like register number or roll number, and address, and we can take mail ID and contact number. All these
Date of
things I am
birth.
going to take. Yeah, date of birth. Yeah, all these things we are going to take from that person, right? And then we'll be storing that all the things. If I want a student from electronics department, then I need to search his details in the electronics and communication engineering data only, right? In that database only. Means that electronics and communication engineering is a domain, or I can call it as entity. In that, I have stored all the students who are all studying electronics. Okay. These what are all the students information we are storing na? All that is called as data, and we are storing that in where? In the electronics and communication department. That is the domain or entity. Under that we are storing all the data. Okay. Like data, it is nothing but it is a collection of information, or we can call it as a piece of information of a particular entity or a domain. Okay. For example, I can give you another. In a company, for an employee, first if we go, there will be, we should fill our informations. For example, they might ask, like, that might be name, and what are all the things they might, while giving the information, what are all the things we can give as an employee?
Name, education,
Name, qualification.
date of
Yeah.
birth, blood group,
Okay. Employee ID.
they will be, and emergency phone numbers.
Yeah.
Designation or department.
Yeah, correct. Department. What are all the things we can give? Employee ID. Then employee name.
Date of birth.
Yeah. Date of birth. Then contact
Department.
number. Yeah. Contact number and department. Yeah, there are many information we'll be providing, but now I'm just, for the example, I'm mentioning these 5. Okay. This, all the information will comes under what? Employee information. This all the information of an employee, right? Here, this employee is there, na? This one we are going to call it as entity. And all this employee ID, employee name, date of birth, contact number, department, and job, all the other things will be called as data. Okay, all this piece of information, all this collection of information of a particular entity, that is employee, is completely known as data. Okay, got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then we learned about data. Another thing we have, that is database. What is this database? I used to say all the data is stored in the database. While teaching what is SQL, we gone through possible interactions. In that, I mentioned that creating or storing the new data into the database. Then we can retrieve the data from the database. We can remove the data from the database, right? Which is nothing but the place where the data can be stored is called the database. Okay, it is a centralized place which is mainly used to store the data and also to manage the data. Okay, it is a centralized place. It is a centralized place where we can store the data and also we can manage that data. What is this centralized place means? It is a common place where everyone can use and access it. Okay, all the data, whatever the data, for if we have a particular organization, that organization's all the data will be stored in a particular database that was created by that organization, and all the data will be stored in that particular database only. Okay, that particular centralized space itself. And in database, the data will be stored in a systematic way. Okay, we can't just store it in however we want. In our laptops, we will be storing the files, just we are downloading them and we'll be leaving there itself. But in the organizations or in any of the place, the data is required, right? That should be stored, the data should be stored in a systematic way. Okay, there will be separate folders for each and everything. Okay, so like why it should be systematic way means, whenever we want a data, whenever we want to access a data, like in just a second we should get a data. As I shown the example of Facebook login, I said whenever we are logging in again, the data of our username and password will be stored in a Google server, browser server. If we want, it will give the suggestion that this is your username and password. Do you want to use this or you want to create the new account, right? And that time, it's a like in a second we are going to get that notification. If we messed up the storage, like if we messed up the data storage, can we get it in a second? No, right? We can't get the particular username and password in a second if we messed up in the data storing. So it should be in a systematic way so that whenever a user using anything or we need to access any of the data from the database, in a second we are going to get that data. Okay, so in the database, the data will be stored in a systematic way so that we can access the data anywhere, like very easily we can access that data. And each and every database we should support for all the interactions of SQL. Like the SQL is mainly helped for the interacting with the database, right? What are all the interactions it will do? Creating the data.
Creating,
Receiving,
modifying.
Receiving, storing,
Yeah,
deleting, retrieving.
fetching.
correct. Correct. Yeah. These are all the interactions we are going to do with the database. So that database should support for doing all those interactions by the user side. Got it?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Now, take down the notes. Take down the heading as importance of SQL. In that, take down point wise. First point, creating a database. Creating a database. Next point, creating a data in database. Creating data. Creating data in database. Next point, inserting new data into database. Inserting new data into database. Next point, updating or modifying the whole data in the database. Updating or modifying the whole data in the database. Next point, deleting unwanted data from the database. Deleting unwanted data deleting unwanted data from the database. Next point, fetching or retrieving, fetching or retrieving the data, fetching or retrieving the data from the database. From the database. Then,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Okay. Next, take down the heading as history of SQL. History of SQL. In that, SQL was developed by SQL. SQL was developed by Raymond Boyd. SQL was developed by Raymond Boyd in the year of 1970. SQL was developed by Raymond Boyd in the year of 1970. Full stop. Raymond Boyd is known as father of SQL. Raymond Boyd, Raymond Boyd is known as Father of SQL. Full stop. Continue in the next line. EF code. EF code. In the bracket, write down Edgar Frank code. EF code. In the bracket, Edgar Frank code is a co-founder of SQL. Is a co-founder of SQL. Full stop. SQL was developed by IBM company. SQL was developed by IBM company, but the current owner is Oracle. But the current owner is Oracle. Full stop. In earlier days, SQL was known as SQL was known as SQL. In earlier days, SQL was known as SQL. In front of that, in the bracket, write down its abbreviation. Simple English Query Executable Language. Simple English Query Executable Language. Once ANSI standard, write down in front of this ANSI, in front of that, in the bracket, write down its abbreviation. American National Standard Code Information Interchange. American National Standard Code Information Interchange.
Ma'am, executable language after that.
Executable language, that close the bracket. Then once ANSI, then take down that abbreviation in the bracket, that is American National Standard Code Information Interchange. American National Standard Code Information Interchange. Then continue. ANSI standard was acquired or purchased. Standard was acquired or purchased and renamed SQL has SQL and renamed SQL as SQL has SQL in the year of 1979. In the year of 1979. Full stop. Then
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Next, take down the heading as database concepts. Database concepts. In that subheading, data. Data is nothing but collection of information. Data is nothing but collection of information or a piece of information or a piece of information of particular entity of particular entity. Take down another definition for data, right? Or and a data of rows or record. A data of rows, ROWS, rows or records, which describes a data of rows or records which describe all the columns, which describes all the columns or attributes, all the columns or attributes of a table or entity of a table or entity is called as data. Is called as data. Okay, take down this diagram. After you guys done, let me know.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Then, okay. Take down the next heading, database. Database. In that, it is a centralized place. It is a centralized place. It is a centralized place which is used to store some data, which is used to store some data and manage the data. It is a centralized place which is used to store some data and to manage the data is called as database. Is called as database. Full stop. Centralized place means centralized place means it is a common place. Centralized place means it is a common place where everyone can use and access. Where everyone can use and access to store the data. Or write down centralized place means it is a common place where everyone can use and access the data. Where everyone can use and access the data. Full stop. Next. In the next line. In database, data will be stored. Data will be stored in a systematic way. In database, data will be stored in a systematic way. In a systematic way, comma, since the data is stored in a systematic way, since the data is stored in a systematic way, users are able to access the data. Users are able to access the data very easily. Since the data is stored in a systematic way, users are able to access the data very easily. Full stop. Each and every database should support the following interactions to the user. Each and every database should support the following interactions to the user. In that first point, inserting new data into the database. Inserting new data into the database. Second point, deleting unwanted data from the database, deleting unwanted data from the database, updating or modifying old data into new data, updating or modifying old data into new data, next last point, fetching or retrieving, fetching or retrieving or accessing, fetching or retrieving or accessing the data from the database, accessing the data from the database.
Last point once again.
Sorry.
Ma'am, can you tell me last point once again?
Okay. Fetching or retrieving, fetching or retrieving or accessing the data from the database, or accessing the data from the database. Then,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Okay, in today's session, we have learned about the importance of SQL and history of SQL in a brief way, and also some of the database concepts. Okay, in the next session, I'm going to continue with the softwares that helps the user to how to interact with the database. Okay, means it is nothing but like uh, we are the users, we are using an application, and there will be a server for each and every application. Means there will be a database, or there will be a data storage place for each and every application, which is nothing but we can call it as server. Okay, that interactions by from the user to the server is not easy. Okay, we cannot directly speak with the database, we cannot give the commands directly to the database. Okay, to manage this process, to manage the interaction from the user to the database, we are going to use a certain software which is called as DBMS. Have you guys heard about this? DBMS?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Database
Okay.
management system.
Yeah, correct. Here we are going to use two softwares like DBMS, that is database management system, and the another one is RDBMS, that is relational database management system, which is nothing but a advanced version of DBMS. Okay. Okay. In the next session, I'll go through that topic in depth. Okay. I hope you guys understood today's session well.